Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy 4th of July. Today, you know, I think one thing that people struggle with, I don't care who you are, I don't care what level you're at, but it's confidence and holding yourself accountable. One thing I learned a long time ago is I just don't lie to myself. Give me the hard, cold truth and just face it head on. I think when people try to not hold themselves accountable and skirt the issue and blame other people, you have this fallacy that there's excuses for everything. If I make a mistake, I can't correct it if I don't own it, and I can't grow if I don't own it. So um, I'm always true to myself, and I think that's one thing that's helped me become as successful as I am in my life. So when I started this business, I have another business as well. It's a life coaching business, and that's comes from 30 years of HR. But when I started this business, because I'm not a salesy type of person, um, I questioned whether or not I could do this. I mean, how many of you guys actually questioned whether or not you were good enough to build a travel business? And I think no matter what you do, you question, okay, can I do this? The answer is anyone, anywhere can do anything that they put their mind to and they choose to focus and put their energy in. Um, Nothing is unattainable. We just have to realize that ourselves and get up when we fall. Um, so, if you are going to actually be successful and think about your business as you grow, your business will never outgrow the person that you choose to become in life or your business owner. Your business is going to grow with you as a person. So that comes with experience and time. Most people don't push through things because they're afraid of things. So if you got rid of the fear, what would your business or what will your business look like in a year from now? Does anybody want to add kind of your vision for your business? For me, I know that while I want to be able to book travel, I'm focusing on building a team because I get value in helping other people. And yes, you can help other people with travel and making their dreams come true and enjoying life as it is. But when you can help people change the world that they live in today, so it's easier and better tomorrow, that's where I get my fulfillment from. So I want to focus on building my team in the next year. So in a year from now, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm hoping to have, a minimum of 12 people. And if it's above that, that's great. I'm really big on setting goals for myself, but I've also learned that my goals have to be realistic. Um, and life is busy. Life takes over. This isn't my full time job. So I have a full time job, I have a part time job, and I'm building this business. Plus, I'm a grandma. So anytime I have, I love to spend with my grandbabies. So life is busy, but I feel like I can push through and commit myself to building my team. And that's what I want my business to look like in a year from now. So, switch slide. Confidence is not something people are born with. Some of that is genetic, I feel, but most of it is learned behavior. And how do you become confident? When you're a little kid, you start picking out your own clothes, and your parents say, "Oh, great, good job." Sometimes parents give you 3 or 4 outfits, and you start building confidence as soon as you are able to understand the messages coming through to you. That's why when you have parents that scream and yell at kids, those are not confident. Those don't become confident people in adulthood because they don't feel like anything is ever good enough. So one practice that I've put in place in my adulthood and I've learned this through my education and psychology, is to always lift those up around you. Um, you might change somebody's world just by telling them that, hey, you're really good at that. Um, and my first exposure to that was when I worked in the oil and gas industry. I had a boss, probably the most amazing human being I've ever met. Um, my meetings with him would last, 4 to 7 hours, but every meeting ended with a handshake. And he said, thank you. I appreciate everything you're doing. And we wouldn't be where we are without you. I was a person that never needed to be, to receive accolades, or I didn't get my motivation from that. But let me just tell you, that changed and shaped the way that I handle situations. Because while it certainly helped me, and I didn't think I needed it, there are so many people that never received that. When my daughter was like 13 or 14 years old, her dad and I had just gotten divorced. And she came to me, she said, Mom, you are the only person who ever tells me when I do something right. I said, well, it's not human nature to tell somebody, hey, you did good at that, because we always want to help people get better. And we do that by telling what they do wrong, when actually the opposite is 100% true. If you lift people up and you boost their confidence and you help them through different situations, or even if something they're great at, you tell them, that helps them feel great about themselves inside. And they carry that forward with every other action that they do. And then they start to do it for other people. So instead of telling people that we're doing something wrong, or, you could have done it better that way, or, you should have, you could have, whatever, it really helps me in who I am and the leader that I want to be, by recognizing in others things that they have no idea they're good at about themselves. We hear this message all the time, but it's practice. It took me years to perfect this, and I'm still continuing to work on it. But I evaluate the words that I say, not all the time. I make mistakes like everybody else, but I try to be very cognizant of my word choices, because people can interpret what you're saying, especially in text or written form, depending on the mood that they're in. So it's really important to choose your words carefully, and help others get better over time. My first Facebook Live was after I joined this, was probably a few weeks ago. While I have no problem speaking live to people, it's really hard to speak to somebody. Sorry, my husband's phone is going off. It's really hard to speak to somebody when you don't see them. You don't have a picture of them in front of you. You're talking to a blank screen. So that was really hard for me to get past, because I want to see people's interactions. I want to see their facial expressions. That's a huge part of communication. So again, that's something that you build over time. I've done my second Facebook. It's getting easier. It's getting easier. And I don't know travel very well. So even talking about that topic, I know I've traveled as a traveler. So, Joey and I were talking earlier that it's easy to speak in front of people when you know your topic. It's okay to say, I don't know, let me find out. But when you know what you're talking about, it's hard for your audience to discount that. So be prepared. I know that a lot of people become crippled by fear, fear of rejection. What if they say no? What if, they yell at me and they don't want to do it? Well, what if they say yes? What if they say, I really, really want to go on a vacation. I just absolutely cannot afford it right now. You might even be able to help them with some cost savings ideas. Like I posted on my Facebook the other day, I go out for coffee quite a bit. I actually did the math on making my own coffee at home. I saved $3 on a cup of coffee by making it at home. but it's those small things that, you know, even if you feel like you're being rejected, there are things that you can do to turn the situation around. Or even if they say no, say, you know what, I totally understand. It's completely acceptable that life isn't going right, but you know, it won't always be this way. And then there's the fear of judgment. Okay, are people going to think I'm too pushy? And that's a big one in this industry. You know, just in the short time I've been doing this, is, you know, you're really pushing me. Or, like Sonia, I just recruited Sonia. She's my niece. When we were on our three-way call with Cresta, she says, you know, Auntie, I'm not going to lie, you were pushing hard on this building a team thing. I said, because I know what's on the other side. You're laser focused on, you don't want people to think that you're pushing into something. I said, I'm not pushing you into this, but I understand the value in doing this and the long-term income potential. That's not the same message I would do with somebody that I don't know. You know, you have to be careful in how you present yourself depending on your audience. And a lot of that comes from emotional intelligence, knowing who you're talking to, being able to read their body language. Kind of, you don't have to know a thing about them, but you can just watch them and see how your message is coming through. That also is learned. That's really hard to do in the beginning, but it gets easier over time. Um, Comparison. This is what I struggle with. I am a person that wants results right now. I give everything I have to a situation, and I'm going to compare myself to other people in the industry. You know, Evie, she's been doing this for a while, but you know what? I want to be where she's at. So, you know, what do I have to do? How do I get there? But you can't. My message, my method, the way I communicate, the my persuasion is different than everybody else's. You cannot compare yourself to other people because we don't even necessarily have the same goals. If you don't have the same goals, why would you compare yourself to somebody that has different goals than you? It's kind of putting a cog in your wheels. You know, you just can't. If you're so hyper focused on comparing yourself to other people, can you progress your own business? Another one that I have is perfectionism. Um, I've learned, I used to be what I would say a perfectionist. I wanted everything to be just so. Um, Over 30 years in HR, I've learned that, you know what, sometimes I just have to go with what works. It doesn't have to be precise, it doesn't have to be exactly the way I want it. As long as it gets done without shortcuts. That's another thing, too. When you're leading a team of people, you can't expect them to proceed with how you would do it. They're different than you. Their methods are different. As long as the outcome is where it should be, everybody has their own way of doing things, and that's perfectly okay. Um, so I'm going to ask each of you guys, what is your confidence killer? Where do you struggle the most?
For
Anyone?
me, it's judgment. I absolutely, I'm a people pleaser. I don't want people to not like me. So I am always wanting to make everybody happy. And so it's judgment of others.
Realize you can't make everybody happy, right?
I'm learning. It's a slow process, but I'm learning.
So one thing in like when I was in HR and even in life, I ask people, what is your number one responsibility in life? And I'll ask you that question. What is your number one responsibility in life?
To create a life that I love.
Absolutely. Most people don't get that. They say my kids, or if you are not happy, if you are not creating the life that you love, no one around you will be happy. So your only responsibility is to your own personal happiness. The rest comes after that. Anyone else have a confidence killer? Even if it's not listed?
Mine is definitely rejection and perfectionism. It's both. And in the very, very early on in this business, I had to learn that I have always been a perfectionist. If it was not perfect, I was not doing it. And I had to let that go. That was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, was let that go. But when I let that go, that's when the growth started to happen. And it was, my sponsor actually said, it's not important how you do it. It's important that you do it, because I was just not doing it because I was so afraid it wasn't going to be perfect. And I had to really change my mindset on that. But once I did that, it was a big difference. And rejection is something I'm still working on. It's something that still, I don't like being rejected. I don't like being told no. I'm manifesting yes all the time. I'm manifesting that, people are happy. They're not, no to me is a negative thing. And I have to really change my mindset on that. So that's a work in progress.
I think that's a little bit of all of us, with the perfectionism. I look at my life like a piece of artwork. My granddaughter, we'll do art together, and she'll be like, it looks bad. I don't like it. I said, it's your art. It's your life. It's perfect for what you want. You can make it whatever you want to be. And that's how I look at my life, as a piece of art. It might not be exactly what I envisioned, but it's perfect for where I'm at, what I need to do. Does anybody else want to comment, or we can move on?
I just wanted to say I love that comment. And one thing that I've learned is that a picture without some dark spots will never illuminate the lighter spots. So
Absolutely.
A piece of art normally has both.
Exactly. If it's all white and light gray, and you don't see anything else, and you honestly can't enjoy the full picture without some of those darker areas. You wouldn't know that it's good if you didn't have some bad in there. Our lives have shaped who we are, good and bad. And I can honestly say at this point in time in my life that I love the person that I've become. And that's because of all the obstacles and all the heartbreak that I've had. Without that, I wouldn't be who I am, and I wouldn't be where I am, and I wouldn't be able to help the people that I'm helping. So it's important to recognize those facts when you learn to love who you are. And there's a very few, and I speak of women specifically, but there's very few women that I know that absolutely love the person they are. And the reason that I've been able to love who I am is because I hold myself accountable for all of my bad decisions, learning opportunities, I call them. But without that, because not everybody, especially your friends who don't want to cause conflict, not everybody's gonna be like, oh, why'd you do that? That was probably not the best move, because they're worried about how you're going to feel. I've been pretty harsh with myself on some paths that I've taken. I've made a lot of misjudgments, but as long as you grow from that, again, I wouldn't be doing this endeavor if I hadn't made some of the decisions that I've made previously in my life. And I think personally that this is probably one of the best things that's ever come my way, because it's going to I feel in my heart and in my mind that this path is going to get me to my final destination in a method that will allow me to be the happiest Karri that I can be. And to find that opportunity, you have to be able to recognize it, first of all. But more importantly, you have to get past the fear to jump into it. And that's really hard, because I am a person that likes stability, security. I like knowing what's coming. This is a ocean that I've never been in. And I don't know what's under the surface, but I learned how to swim. I learned how to preserve energy. So we can all do this. We just need someone to help us get there. So the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. This is also something that I struggle with. And I don't know, maybe Jamie, you do this too. In my head, I have my plan. I want to do all this. I get my process down. But if I'm always doing that and thinking about how I want to proceed, I never actually take the step and proceed. So we really have got to, again, everything is a balance in life. We've got to decide, okay, what am I comfortable doing? What am I uncomfortable doing? And how do I get to the point where I can do the uncomfortable things comfortably? So just start doing it. And like your sponsor said, Jamie, it's not important how you do it. Just start it. None of us are perfect. None of us, heck, would you want to be perfect? I think about Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods, who are the best in their field. How do they get better? There's no one to push them to do better. There's no one to, where do you go when you're at the top of your field? I would never, ever want to be there. I always want to grow. I always want to learn. I always want to get better. If you become stagnant, you're never going to push yourself to be the best you can be because it's easy. Let's see. You are the CEO of your business. That's so hard for a lot of people to comprehend. They discount what they're doing, what it takes to run your business. Stay-at-home moms. I'm just a stay-at-home mom. What do you mean you're just a stay-at-home mom? I mean, you cook, you clean, you schedule doctor's appointments for yourself, your kids, your spouse. You plan events. If your kids are in activities, you're running that schedule. So you're an executive assistant. First of all, you're managing schedules. You're a master chef. You budget like nobody's business because you have to stretch your dollar. You've got to make sure that none of your supplies run out. There is so much, and budgeting your budget in general, making sure that everything is paid on time so you don't get cut off by your vendors. Every one of us has qualities, and we do things that we have no idea that we're doing. So take your everyday life and put it into business terms. What are your skill sets? What do you do? Well, again, multitasking is my jam. I have a calendar in my house with everybody's schedules on it. But for somebody to say, I'm just, every one of us is absolutely amazing. There's so much that we do that we don't acknowledge. And that's the first step in building that confidence. What do you do every day? Even if you're sitting at home relaxing, you're also thinking in my head, okay, tomorrow I've got to do X, Y, Z. What am I going to make for dinner next week? So there's no downtime for anyone. There's in this JAG class that I teach high school students, and employees over the years is, that's not my job. I'm not going to do it. You don't pay me to do that. First of all, you get paid to do whatever needs to be done. That's the message I have. And if you are just copacetic and okay with everything where you're at, again, you're not going to grow. You're not going to push yourselves. And I know there are people that don't want growth. They're just okay skating by in life or just blissful in their everyday norm. But when you own your own business, you cannot have that mindset. You've got to push yourself when nobody else will. So if you're hesitating on when I talked to Evie about this business, first of all, instant intrigue. I love to travel. My initial thought was, if I can make money on the travel that I take, I'm getting a return on my investment. So that was my initial thought with this. But again, having a business mind, what is my initial investment? What is my potential return on the investment? So I'm a green person. I'm analytical, I'm the numbers person. I have to know the hows and whys behind things. So my only hesitation was I need more information. I knew instantly that this was something I was going to do. I just need to evaluate my timing. And that's what I said, kind of knowing who you're talking to. You kind of have to get to know what it is they're looking for. Fortunately for me, I don't wait on much. I would rather make a wrong decision than make no decision. And I constantly overthink. If I do this, what's going to happen? Again, when I would have to terminate an employee, the night before I didn't sleep very well because I'm running in my head the conversation scenarios that could happen so that I'm prepared when it happens. I know how I'm going to respond. There's a book out there somewhere that I read, and it's called Women Who Overthink. And again, it's because women, and I say women, there's men like this too, but we do so much. We overthink because we don't want to make an error. Not only that, we don't have the time to go back and correct the error. So we overthink things. That sometimes causes more problems. If you're overthinking life, something that happened last week, oh, I should have done this. I wish I'd done that. If you're constantly thinking about, okay, next month, I've got to make sure I have enough money for XYZ, we're not living today. We're not living in this moment. We're not taking advantage of the things that are happening to us today, or the opportunities that can come to us today, or the people that we can help today, because we're worried about the past and we're worried about the future. You have to live in the moment. That was hard for me to learn, and I'm getting there. It's one of those things that I'm continually working. I think I'm always going to work on that. That's largely in part to the perfectionism. I don't want to make errors because then I just have to correct them, right? So overthinking, I think that I'm going to avoid that when in all probability I won't. And posting inconsistently, I'm guilty of that because life is taking over. I think to myself, if I could make this my full-time business, I wouldn't necessarily have to worry about posting inconsistently because I have time in my day. I can operate a regular schedule. Whereas with my full-time job, I don't know what's going to happen during my work day. So I can't operate on a schedule. I prefer to be a much more structured person. But even so, I mean, I can post at 2 a.m. I can become more consistent. Me making excuses why I'm not doing it doesn't help me at all. So again, when I look at myself in the future, who do you guys want to be? What is it you want your person to look like? I've always been considered a person that takes actions, gets things done. I've always helped people, even though it wasn't my job. That's my purpose in life, is to help other people. At a detriment to myself sometimes, because that will help someone else, even if it causes me to step backwards, because I know that I can recover from that. But that's knowing who I am, knowing what my capabilities are, knowing what my boundaries are. And I'm getting better at boundaries. I didn't have any. I'm sure some of you don't have boundaries because especially the people pleasers, you'll do what it takes to make people happy. You've got to set clear boundaries for yourself. I am no longer willing to do this because it's going to cause me this. It's okay to say no. If you don't say no, you are setting yourself up for failure. You cannot, as much as we all think we're Wonder Woman or Supergirl or whatever else, we are not. And it usually comes to us at a cost of our health, which people don't consider. when you go, 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 you have the mental stress of helping other people, managing things. Mental health is much, it's getting better, but it affects us, I think, personally, more than our physical health does. Because your mental health can cause problems in your physical health. And when you take on too much, or you don't get the results that you want because you've taken on too much, sometimes it comes across as a negative self-perception. Oh, and you go into the overthinking thing. I shouldn't have done that. Now that I did, I have to go this. It's done. Move on from it. You can't change it. Let things go. That is a very hard lesson. And again, practice makes perfect. It takes time. I am constantly working on myself so that I'm a better version. Now, none of these things are detrimental to the human being that I am. But as a business owner, we want to make our lives as easy as possible so that we can make our lives and our businesses successful. That's not taking shortcuts. That's what they say, working smart. Know your limits. When I worked in senior living, I worked in a continuing care retirement community as their HR person. One thing I realized that the most important job task that many of us have is building relationships. Building relationships will help us in our personal lives. It'll help us build our business network. It will help others become trusting of us. It will help us trust other people. So when someone, a manager or somebody comes to me and says, I need to write so-and-so for talking too much, my question is always this: what were they talking about? Were they talking about work? Were they talking about a process? You can't just make the judgment that they're talking too much. And even if they're talking about personal stuff, if they're talking with their coworker, they're building that relationship. They're building pathways for themselves to be more successful. In turn, the organization to be more successful, because you're building relationships that will help everybody in the long run. Now, if they're gossiping or talking about other people, that's a different story. Building relationships is the single most important thing in life to me personally, whether it's business, whether it's personal, because that brings fulfillment in my life. I don't know if any of you have heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's a psychological learning tool. The basic at the bottom level of the pyramid is, food, clothing, shelter. As you move up to the top of the pyramid, it's self-actualization. What brought me fulfillment in my 20s, earning money, making as much money as I can, buying the things, doing the things, that no longer brings me fulfillment. What brings me fulfillment is my ability to help other people. And I've learned that through this hierarchy of needs. I know who I am. I know what I'm about. I know what my capabilities are. It's time for me to help other people recognize that in themselves. Building a team. And again, it doesn't even have to be a work team. Your circle of friends, that's a team. You guys want to go on a vacation. That communication, knowing what each of you likes, will help you be successful in where you choose to go. Everything is teamwork. Believing in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, how can anybody else? If you're not confident that no matter what life throws at me, no matter what obstacles, no matter what curveballs I get, you will get through it, no matter how bad it is. You know why? We don't have an option. Nobody gives us, well, you just don't have to do that. When my mom got lung cancer, I don't have an option. You can't change it. How are we going to get through it? there's nothing in the world that I can't do. I firmly believe in that. My mom raised me to believe that. Is it going to be easy? Nope. Am I going to fail at some things? Absolutely. But you know what? You can do it. And so can anybody. They just haven't been taught that that's a possibility in their lives. Like again, we learn through the actions of others our confidence. My parents raised me to be very confident. If somebody told me I could not do something, I'm like, watch me. And I would always do it. When I had my daughter, this is one thing I struggled with. She was raised to be very, very confident. And when somebody would tell her that she couldn't do something, she did just the opposite of what I did. She's like, I don't have anything to prove to you. Why should I show you that I can do it? I know I can do it. That was a struggle for me. That was difficult for me to understand because, and maybe that's the competitiveness in me that I wanted to show people. She doesn't have that. She's like, you know what? I only owe things to myself. I don't have to tell you anything. And we have a direct descendant relationship. So that just goes to show that we are all different. The way we interpret information, the way we process information, the way we present information is all different. But if you don't believe in yourself, how can anyone else believe in you? You don't owe anything to anybody, but you have to determine how you're going to master your business, master yourself. So in my future, I want each of you to ask yourselves this question. I will become someone who, and fill in the blanks. Mine is I will become someone who others depend on to help them become successful in the future that they build for themselves. Again, know your why. That's the secret to success. If any of you have ever watched Simon Sinek, he's my mentor. He's who I strive to be like. He's a speaker, motivational speaker, and he talks with businesses. He's actually talked with the Navy SEALs. So he knows a lot of secrets to being successful. Don't quit no matter what. This too shall pass, they say. You can get through anything. I know for me, even since starting this business, I have had struggles. It's like, okay, because I want things to happen right now. And when nothing happened for so long, you're like, okay, do I just cash in my chips before this gets too bad? But I also know that it's only a day. Tomorrow is a different day. And once you start building momentum and you start moving forward, things will organically start to happen. It is a slow burn. I've always been somebody that loves the fast burning. When you're in a relationship, the excitement, the fun, all the fire in the relationship, those fizzle out fast. Same with anything you take on. If it's a fast burn, the likelihood that it's going to last is a lot less than if it's a slow burn, a slow start. You build up to things, you accomplish things, you build up some more, you add more fuel to the fire, it continues to burn. That slow burn has a higher probability of continuing or lasting through situations. So those are just things that I've learned over the course of my life. And the success formula as far as how I've been successful. I'm a Pisces, and they say Pisces are dreamers, and I've never considered myself much of a dreamer. But I do know, I guess, second guessing myself, I am, because I know what my life will look like at the end of my life. I know what I'm working towards. That's a dream. Now, what do I have to do to proceed? Making the decision to start this business. I made that decision because I knew it was going to get me to where I needed to be. I knew that I could push through I could continue to do the things necessary that will get me to my end goal. And I do that by daily habits. Even if you're waking up telling yourself, oh, it's going to be a rough day. But you know what? Get through it. Do it regularly. Losing weight, stopping smoking, changing habits. They all take consistency. It actually takes 60 days to make or break a habit. That's why when you started a new job, probationary periods are 60 days. If you can't maintain good attendance for 60 days, you're likely not going to be able to maintain good attendance for the rest of your time at the organization. So do something for 60 days. It becomes a daily habit. You start to do it without thinking about it. Breaking a habit, vaping. My daughter vapes. If she normally vapes when she first gets up in the morning, stop doing that. Maybe try 10 o'clock. Postpone it. That way you don't have the habit of getting up and vaping immediately. And then you just change those habits every day. Small, incremental changes become habits. Habits develop into consistency. Consistency is continuing to do things even when they're hard, even if they're just minute habits. Being consistent. Losing weight is a huge one. I went to the gym regularly for months. I will say I didn't necessarily lose weight, but I also knew that I was gaining muscle during that time. But I was consistent. And then, one day you don't go. And then the next day you don't go. And next thing you know, I'm paying for a gym membership that I don't go to. So stay focused, even when it's hard. Even if you get up, get dressed to go to the gym, walk in, walk 2 minutes and leave. You at least went. That consistency. When you adapt that mindset, that dream, you make the decision to move forward. You form the daily habits and you're consistent in those habits. The results that you want will eventually come. They may not happen tomorrow. They might not be immediate, but those results will come. You just have to maintain your process. So I'm going to go here. Hold on, I have to stop sharing. Okay. So accountability. This is huge. And remember when I said that I wasn't going to shortchange myself by lying to myself? Being accountable is huge. Why do professional athletes have coaches? It's so that they can hold them accountable for their actions. You know what? I don't want to train today. But your coaches will be like, you know what? Get out there, do it. Push yourself harder. You have to be accountable. You can't just be talented. If you're a great football player, but you just go through the steps, you just get there because you know what? This is easy for me. That won't always be so. Business isn't any different. You've got to be accountable for the actions that you're doing. You've got to be willing to be like, okay, I shouldn't have done that. What could I do better next time? If you don't push yourself, if you don't have a coach, if you don't have a life coach, if you don't have somebody that's saying, okay, good job, giving you those accolades, helping you along the way, saying, okay, we did this, but turns out that probably wasn't the best choice. Maybe we tried this next time. We are not superhuman. Sometimes we need to bounce ideas off other people. Find your tribe, bounce ideas off your friends, your business counterparts. It's okay to ask for help. We all need it. I used to have the mindset that, you know what, I don't need anybody. I can do it all myself. Boy, was that a mistake. Yes, I can do all those things, but can I be the best that I can be if I don't have help? No. what daily habits are you creating in the business that you're currently getting? What habits do you need to change? How do you hold yourself accountable for those habits? What do you need to, if you're a list maker, make lists. If you keep it all in your brain and you're that talented, great. If you just go talk things through with somebody else, what works for you? Find what works for you. And when I say what works for you, what really helps you push yourself to be further. If what you're doing is just getting you by, push harder. Change some of those habits. So, it's important that you do it. It doesn't matter how you do it. It's important that you start making those changes. What's one thing that you want to do to get yourself there? Give yourself 3 daily non-negotiables. Some examples of that would be reach out to 3 new people, follow up with, let's say, 5 existing clients. Hey, I know you had a great vacation this last one. Have you thought about what your next one is? What's your timeline? Post at least once a day, at least once, probably more, but that consistent small action. Again, with me and other people that have multiple jobs, make time for one. When you make time for one, then you'll create time for 2. I'm a big learner. I love education. So take 20 minutes to watch a webinar. Take 20 minutes to listen to a motivational speaker. 20 minutes a day to develop yourself. You at least owe yourself that. If you can't give yourself 20 minutes, why are you doing any of this? You have to develop yourself and feed your soul before you're any good to anybody else. Ask your clients for a referral. Ask your business partners, hey, I have this person. Do you want to reach out to them? Or, I know that you don't want to, like Sonia, she doesn't want to sell or she doesn't want to promote the business. So, hey, do you have somebody that you think might be good at this, but you want to reach out to them? I'll reach out to them for you. Help your team. 7-day courage challenge. And I'm probably going to just do this for myself just because I'm going to go live more often. I probably won't do it every 7 days, but maybe twice in those 7 days. I have my next travel party already scheduled. So that's one thing that I think works for me is to stand up in front of a group of people and talk about what I'm doing. And that way, if anybody is interested in, they can come to me, ask for the referrals, message past clients, record a reel. That's something I've never done. So that's definitely on my list of things to do. Another thing that's on my list to do, because I have been an HR professional in the Oklahoma City area for a long time. Personally, I'm going to reach out to businesses and say, hey, I know you guys have to go to your other locations. And sometimes if everybody's booking their own travel, you guys aren't saving the amount of money for the business that you could be saving. Let me book all the travel for your organization. That way they have consistency. They have somebody to hold accountable for the travel arrangements. And they're not taking away time, productivity time from their employees by allowing their employees to book their own travel. It will save organizations time and money by having a person, whether they're small or they're large. Most of the large organizations already have this in place. But smaller businesses, it's definitely something that you can reach out to businesses and do. Keep telling yourself, I have a 7-day plan. I'm going to do these things in 7 days. And in closing, I'm going to say this to myself, and I'll post this in the chat, but I choose progress over perfection. I choose courage over comfort. I choose consistency over excuses. I'll stop waiting until I feel ready. I want to touch base on that one for a minute. When people decide to have kids, I'm going to have kids when I have more money. You're never going to have enough money to raise a kid. Do it now. I'm going to take a vacation when I save up the money for it. Do it now. Tomorrow never comes, because once tomorrow's here, it's today. Do it today. Don't wait till you're ready. Don't wait till you have the money. Don't wait till XYZ happens. Do it now. Stop waiting. You might die in a car accident tomorrow and you've never done the things that you wanted to do. Live today. Don't overthink the past. Don't plan for the future. Live in the moment. I will build confidence through my actions. I will show up for my dreams. If you don't show up for your dreams, they're not going to happen. I will become the person that my future requires. I will never let fear make my decisions for me again. I think we're all guilty of that one. For me, it was when I was younger and before I had the confidence. Well, I don't want to. I don't. What happens if? Absolutely. What happens if? Change that inflection in your voice. What happens if? But what happens if? Mindset is everything. Change your perspective. Change your mindset. Change your outcome by changing your perception. The world doesn't need another travel advisor. It needs you. Your story, your lifetime. The only question is, will you show up consistently enough for people to find you? You've got to be visible. You've got to be out there. You've got to be, even if you make mistakes, like my first live, I was struggling for my words. I was bumbling. But who cares? Even in this training, I had a outline I was going to follow in progression, but I know I'm going to jump around. I'm going to go back and forth. The important thing is that I get my feelings out there. I get my message across, and that you each take one thing away from this, even me. Every time I sit and do a training, I learn something new about myself. This time I learned that I can talk about something that I'm unfamiliar with and still be okay. Because I've always operated on the premise of I only talk about what I know. That's HR, that's law, that's people. But in this forum, it's travel. But you know what? There's people in travel. I know people. I can do this. We can do hard things. If everything we did were easy, we would not grow. I know for me, if I didn't grow as a person and I didn't get better at the things that I already do and I didn't learn new things, I would not be a happy person. I would not be fulfilled in who I am. So I'm just going to open up the floor now for anybody that wants to add any closing statements, any ideas, or even feedback. So it's your time, anyone. I just want to say I want to be where Irene is.
Right? I wrote to her and I was like joking. I go, is that a fake background? I was like, good morning, Moana, because it's 5:30 in the morning there. It's
I couldn't stay asleep. My body still is on West Coast time.
I mean, there are worse places to wake up early.
Tell me about it. Look at that.
I wouldn't want to leave. I don't know how you're going to leave.
No, I'm going to go for a walk right now. Got to get them steps in. Got to be consistent.
Yeah.
I'm averaging 10,000 a day still, so that's good.
Well, I want to say thank you, Karri, to you for stepping up and doing this training. This is the first time you've trained for the team and for our challenge and for, the ripple effect and so much valuable information. You said, if I take away one thing, you're happy. I took so many notes and there was a lot of great nuggets today. So I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us. And I would have never known that this was not a topic that you were comfortable with, because I felt like you were comfortable with it the whole time. So thank you for stepping up and doing that for us.
I appreciate the platform. Like I said, I could talk anytime. Well, I hope you all have a safe and happy 4th of July. Keep all your fingers intact, please. Today's the day to overeat, because you can work it off. Extra steps on the beach. I would not complain. But I hope everyone has a great day, and thank you so much for this opportunity. I have very much enjoyed talking with all of you. So have a great day.
Thank you,
And we'll
Karri.
talk soon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Karri. You did great.
Happy Independence Day, everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye, everybody.